I was working as a cleaner in the night shift at Lee Williams High School in Kingman, Arizona, cleaning empty hallways, mopping classrooms where hundreds of students had spent their day. It was peaceful until it happened. Actually, the ghost stories about schools are common, but Lee Williams High School is different. This school was quite literally built on the bones of the past. In 2013, while constructing a new building, workers uncovered 11 graves, 7 coffins, and a multitude of artifacts buried beneath the school grounds. What followed next would forever change the way students, teachers, and staff saw their school. Because once you disturb the dead, they tend to make their presence known. One night, I was alone, making my way toward the restrooms to lock up. As I reached the door, I heard footsteps inside. Slow, deliberate steps on the tiled floor. "Anyone in there?" I called out. It's silence for a while. Then the sound of a stall door creaking open. I felt a chill run down my spine. I stepped inside, expecting to find some prankster hiding, but the room was completely empty. No wind, no vents, no explanation for what I had just heard. That was just the beginning. The next night, I was finishing up in one of the hallways when I heard a little girl giggling. I froze. No students were left in the building, yet the laughter continued, echoing from down the hall. I turned the corner, and for a split second, I saw her. A small girl in a white dress, barefoot, standing in the middle of the hall. Her face was turned away from me, her long black hair hanging down over her shoulders. "Do you want to play outside?" she whispered. The lights above flickered. I blinked, and she was gone. I wanted to believe my mind was playing tricks on me. But the next morning, I overheard a teacher talking to a security guard. I swear, last night I heard a child laughing in the halls. But when I checked the cameras, the hallway was empty. I wasn't the only one hearing things, and worse, I wasn't the only one seeing her. As if the girl wasn't enough, there was another spirit lurking in the school, a shadowy figure that terrified anyone unlucky enough to see him. Reports came from students and staff alike. A tall man dressed in an old-fashioned long coat and bowler hat was often seen walking the halls at night. One student swore they saw him standing at the end of a hallway watching them, but when they blinked, he had moved. Impossibly fast, much closer than before. Others claimed to feel a presence behind them, only to turn and find nothing but empty air. Then one night, as I was locking up, I caught something on the security cameras. A dark figure standing in the cafeteria, motionless. I rubbed my eyes, thinking it was a glitch. But then, he moved. Not walking, not running, just shifting. 1 second he was near the tables. The next, he was directly in front of the camera. I left early that night. I didn't care if I lost my job. I just knew I couldn't stay in that building alone anymore. Lee Williams High School still stands today. Students and teachers continue to report strange occurrences, phantom footsteps, flickering lights, alarms blaring for no reason. Skeptics dismiss the hauntings as imagination running wild, but those who have experienced it firsthand, they know better. The dead were buried beneath this school. Their graves were disturbed, and now they refuse to be forgotten. So, if you ever find yourself alone in a school hallway at night, and you hear soft footsteps behind you, whatever you do, don't turn around. I never used to believe in ghosts. I thought haunted schools were just stories, something kids whispered to scare each other. But after what I experienced inside Sophie B. Wright High School at New Orleans, Louisiana, I know better. It still haunts me. Even now, years later, when I close my eyes, I see her. Back in 2005, when Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans, the school was emptied. Students and teachers were gone, and in their place, soldiers moved in. National Guard personnel sent to maintain order in a city drowning in chaos. I was one of them. At first, it seemed like a normal assignment. The school was old, sure, but it was just a building. Walls, floors, and empty hallways. But as the nights passed, we started noticing things. Strange, unsettling things that made our skin crawl. At first, it was small. Doors we were sure had been locked swung open on their own. The sound of faint laughter echoed down the halls late at night, even though we were the only ones inside. Shadows flickered in the corners of our vision, always disappearing when we turned to look. It didn't take long before we realized we were not alone in that school. One night, I was patrolling the halls alone. The school was silent, the air thick with humidity and something else. Something heavy. That's when I saw her. A girl, standing in a doorway at the end of the hall. She wasn't moving, just watching me. Her dress was old-fashioned, her hair falling in long, dark waves over her shoulders. At first, I thought she was a lost child, maybe someone who had wandered in. But then, she vanished, not walked away, not slipped into the shadows. One second she was there, the next, gone. I felt cold, like the warmth had been sucked out of my body. My breath caught in my throat. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I forced myself to move toward the doorway. It was empty, but the air smelled different, like damp earth and something sweet, almost like perfume. I didn't tell anyone what I saw. I figured my mind was playing tricks on me. That exhaustion and stress were making me imagine things. But I wasn't the only one. A few nights later, Specialist Lenore, one of my fellow soldiers, ran out of the school restroom, her face pale as a sheet. "There was someone in there," she stammered. "A girl, a shadow. She was just standing there." We went inside together. The stalls were empty. The mirrors reflected only our nervous faces. But the air was cold, ice cold. And on the mirror, fogged up as if someone had been breathing against it, were the words, "Help me." Another soldier, one who refused to even talk about the hauntings, had his own encounter. He was grabbing supplies from a closet one night when he heard soft giggling behind him. He turned. No one was there. He laughed it off, told himself it was just his imagination. But as he reached into the closet, he felt something grab his wrist. Not the brush of fabric, not a draft. Fingers, small, ice cold, tight. He yanked his arm back and slammed the closet shut. But before he could move, he heard it again, the giggling. Only this time, it was coming from inside the closet. By this point, we were all on edge. None of us wanted to be alone in that school. The stories were getting worse. That's when they brought in the chaplain. A cleansing ritual was performed. Prayers, blessings, holy water sprinkled in every hallway. For a while, it felt like the air in the school lightened, like whatever was there had finally been put to rest. The sightings stopped. The giggling disappeared. The shadows no longer moved when no one was looking. And then, just before we left, one last thing happened. I was walking out of the building carrying my gear, relieved to be done with the place. And then I heard it. Software. Faint. Almost like the wind. A giggle. And as I turned back to look at the school one last time, I saw her, standing at the window of an empty classroom, her dark eyes locked onto mine, smiling. I don't know who she was. I don't know what she wanted. And I don't know if the cleansing really worked. Because sometimes, late at night, I still hear it. That soft, distant giggle. And I wonder, did she ever really leave? Old school buildings creak, pipes make weird noises, and kids love to tell scary stories. That's what I thought, until I stepped into Callahan School in Harrisville. Until I heard her. Even now, years later, I still remember the sound. The eerie whistle echoing through the hallways. The click of high heels on the cold basement floor. The feeling of being watched when no one was there. The teacher said it was nothing, just an old legend. But the students? We knew better. The school was named after Julia F. Callahan, the woman who founded it. She dedicated her life to education, shaping generations of students. But in 1952, she died. And some say she never left. No one knows exactly how she died. Some claim a bookcase fell on her, crushing her beneath the weight of the very knowledge she valued so much. Others say she suffered a heart attack in her office, her spirit lingering in the place she loved. And then there's the darkest story of them all, that she fell from the roof. No matter how she died, one thing is certain. Julia Callahan is still here. Everyone at Callahan School has a story. Doors in the library slam shut on their own. Books fall from shelves with no one near them. And at night, teachers have reported hearing footsteps coming from the attic. But the worst place? The basement bathroom. That's where it happened to me. It was 2008. I was in 5th grade, just a kid, still naive enough to think ghosts weren't real. That changed in an instant. I was in the basement bathroom with my friend Nicole. It was a quiet afternoon, just the two of us, whispering and laughing, trying to scare each other with silly ghost stories. Then we heard it. Click, click, click. A rhythmic tapping, like heels against the floor. Our giggles died in our throats. We turned to each other, eyes wide. No one else was in the bathroom, just us. And yet, the sound continued. Slow, deliberate steps echoing across the tiles. Nicole grabbed my hand. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice trembling. Silence. I stepped toward the door, my heart hammering. If it was a teacher, they would have answered, right? But deep down, I already knew. It wasn't a teacher. I reached for the door handle, and then it stopped. No footsteps, no sound, just an awful, suffocating silence. I looked at Nicole. She was frozen, her face pale as a sheet. And then, from directly outside the door, we heard a whisper. Low, breathless. Just 2 words. "Still here." I ran out of that bathroom so fast my legs barely kept up with me. But I never stopped experiencing things. One afternoon, I was in the school library trying to focus on an assignment. The room was empty except for a few students quietly flipping through books. Then, a door creaked open. Not a little. Not the way doors sometimes shift from a draft. It swung open wide. We all turned, expecting to see a teacher. No one was there. And yet, something about the doorway felt wrong. Like if I stared too long, I'd see something I wasn't meant to see. The librarian rushed over, muttering something about faulty hinges. She pulled the door shut and locked it. Less than a minute later, as we all sat in uneasy silence, the door slammed open again. The principal, Mr. Termen, never spoke much about the hauntings. If anyone asked, he just smiled and said, "Julia's only watching over us." But if that's true, why does she feel so angry? Why does her presence send chills down our spines? Why does she whisper in empty hallways? Even now when I think about Callahan School, I hear it. That distant, eerie whistle. That soft whisper at my ear. Still here. Some spirits stay behind because they love a place. Others, because they can't leave. But what if Julia doesn't want to leave? What if she won't let us go? I never used to believe in ghosts. Stories about haunted schools always seemed like the kind of things kids made up to scare each other. But at West High School in Anchorage, Alaska, believing in ghosts isn't a choice. Because once you've seen her, you don't just believe, you know. They call her the Lady in White. No one knows who she is or where she came from. Some say she's the spirit of a woman who died near the school long ago. Others believe she's a former student, trapped in the halls of West High forever. All I know is that she's real, and she's watching. It was during a closed dress rehearsal for our school play. The auditorium was empty except for the cast and crew. I was helping backstage when I noticed something strange. The door at the back of the stage creaked open. I turned, expecting to see a teacher or another student, but instead, there she was. A girl dressed in white standing in the shadows. She didn't move. She just stood there, staring. I frowned, stepping toward her. "Hey, you're not supposed to be back here." She didn't respond. I took another step, and that's when she vanished. Not ran, not turned away. She just disappeared. 1 second she was there. The next, she was gone. I wasn't the only one who saw her. A security guard once told me he was doing his rounds late at night, walking through the hallways behind the auditorium balcony. It was quiet until he saw something move, something white darting past him. He turned, thinking it was a student sneaking around after hours. "Hey!" he called out. No answer. But when he turned the corner, expecting to catch whoever it was, there was no one there. They say the lady in white likes to hide in the basement halls. That's where I saw her the second time. It was after school, and I was grabbing something from my locker when I heard it. Soft footsteps echoing down the empty hall. I turned the corner and froze. She was standing at the far end of the hallway, still, silent, staring. I felt every hair on my body stand on end. Then, before I could move, she ran. Not like a normal person, not the way a student might rush to class. She floated, a blur of white tearing down the hall, then disappearing into a locked classroom. When I finally got the courage to check, the room was empty. The lady in white isn't the only spirit trapped at West High. There's another. A janitor who died here long ago. Some say he never left. People have seen him sweeping the lobby late at night, long after the real janitors have gone home. Others have heard his footsteps in the empty halls, the slow, deliberate sound of boots on tile. And the lights? They flicker on and off, as if someone, or something, is still roaming the school long after dark. Even the teachers don't deny it anymore. One of them, a die-hard skeptic, once told me, "I don't believe in ghosts, but something is happening here. Something we can't explain. Something watching from the shadows. Maybe the lady in white is just a lost soul, wandering the halls, looking for something she'll never find. Maybe the janitor is simply doing his job, forever trapped in the place he worked until his last breath. Or maybe, just maybe, West High isn't just haunted. Maybe it's cursed.